Chances are that at some point in your life you will be scammed. Most people nowadays will have been approached by scammers at some point, and some have even been scammed. In the US, 1 in 10 adults will fall victim to a scam or a fraud every year. In 2018, internet-enabled theft, fraud, and exploitation were responsible for a massive $2.7 billion in financial losses. Yes, that's $2.7 billion. Phishing sites are spoofed sites posing as real company websites in an attempt to trick you into entering your details. These sites often look legitimate and can be hard to spot. Check the web address bar for spelling mistakes, missing forward dashes, and other details that don't seem right. If you are unsure, do a quick Google search for the company to see if their official site pops up as well, and look at the list of scamming websites. If in doubt, enter an incorrect password and see what happens. Scammers target people of all ages and in all countries. In 2020, Raymond Abbas, known as Hush Puppy to his 2.4 million followers, was caught in Dubai. His scheme involved ripping off credit card information overseas. The suspects targeted victims overseas by creating fake websites for well-known companies and banks in a bid to steal victims' credit card information and then launder the stolen money, Dubai Police Brigadier Jamal Al-Jalaf said. Later said Abbas, 38, who passed himself off as a wealthy real estate developer, flaunted his collections of luxury cars, shoes, watches, and other goods to help lure victims from all over the world, the outlet reported. The FBI and Interpol raided his Dubai apartment as he slept and seized more than £30 million or $37 million in cash, the report said. What are the warning signs of a 419 scam? You receive an unsolicited email from someone claiming to be a foreign dignitary or executive. The email promises you a share of a multi-million-dollar fortune in exchange for helping get the money out of the sender's home country. That is a 419 scam. Scams originate from Nigeria. One of the first cons to flourish on the internet, the Nigerian's Prince scam, also known as the 419 scam. The scammer poses as a person of wealth and position who needs to get a huge sum of money out of their country and urgently requests your assistance in return for a sizable share of the treasure. My inbox has been flooded with this scam. The message all seems to follow the same format, and by flooded, I mean that I receive a few of these emails every day of my life. These scammers are very busy. Romance scams. Romance scams are operated from Ghana and Nigeria. Scams are in the increase and you need to be protected. This crime affects hundreds, maybe thousands of people in the UK to the tune of up to £80 million a year. Victims typically lose from £50 to a couple of hundred to several £1,000s, but some individuals have been taken for over £275,000. Any criminals working similar scams will help each other. It's primarily small groups of disenfranchised young men, poverty-stricken, ill-educated, finding it virtually impossible to get regular work and make any sort of living. Nigeria. Nigeria is on the west coast of Africa, home to 218 million people. I've included a map to show you where Nigeria is located. Nigeria is primarily gangster city. Lagos is the headquarters of internet fraudsters in Nigeria. Virtually every corner of Lagos, from Lekki to the mainland, has these conmen. Also, they are referred to as G-boys, meaning guys with swag and know what's up. Also, the biggest amongst them own houses and live very expensive lifestyles in Lagos. In second position, we've got Benin City. Edo State, capital city Benin, is a typical known hotspot for the so-called Yahoo boys. Young boys of different age groups here are engaged in online dating of foreigners, particularly widows. Also, they use different pseudonyms and pictures to deceive their prospective victims. They also believe in charm, helping them to hit their mugger easily. In third position, we have Port Harcourt in Nigeria. Rivers State capital city Port Harcourt. It's also a place where internet scams is fast becoming a hobby. You will hardly see a young boy who doesn't know someone involved in this ugly activity. Also, even with the increase in the number of people captured by the EFCC there, they appear not to be perturbed. And then in fourth position in Nigeria, Warri. Warri is a major town in Delta State. Internet scams are so popular among the youth in Warri. At one point, they even impersonated their state governor without any fear. So why are so many scammers from Nigeria? Well, like most African nations with large populations, many of the youth in Nigeria are unemployed. And in the long run, high unemployment means slower economic growth and lower tax receipts. Countries with prolonged high levels of youth unemployment risk social instability. In Nigeria, this high unemployment means people turn to scamming for an income. Interesting facts about Nigeria. Males outnumber females and the world as a whole, negating the popular belief that women outnumber men in the West African country. Nigeria is estimated to be at 200 million as of mid-year 2019, with 99 million females and 101 million males. On the globe, there are an estimated 3.8 billion males and 3.8 billion females. Nigeria is still projected to be the third most populous country from 2050 to 2100, with a population of 733 million at the end of the century. This population growth causes its own issues. Unemployment is one. The U.S. Treasury Department recently conducted an operation to take action against 6 Nigerian nationals for conducting an elaborate scheme to steal over $6 million from victims across the United States. I've included details of these various different scammers and their names and details of the scams they operated. Nigeria is a hotbed of scammers. Yahoo Yahoo is now the coded name for financial fraud in Nigeria. In our series of letters from African writers, Nigerian novelist Adobe Trisha Nawabini laments that internet scanners have become role models for many youths in her country. The Federal Bureau of Investigation in the U.S. has indicted 80 people, 77 of them Nigerians, in what it describes as the largest case of online fraud in U.S. history. But most shocking for Nigerians was the separate arrest of their internationally celebrated business tycoon, Obinwani Okeke, the head of Nigeria's Invictus Group, which has interests in sectors ranging from agriculture to real estate. He was named by the respected Forbes magazine in 2016 as one of its 30 top African entrepreneurs aged under 30. Now Mr. Okeke, or Invictus Obi as he's popularly known, is accused by the U.S. authorities of stealing $11 million in one online scam alone. He pleaded not guilty in court last week and was remanded in custody. Nigerians are also becoming well known for their involvement in dating or romance scams. They prey on those looking for love connections through dating websites, apps, or social media by posing as potential partners. They use emotional manipulation to persuade them to provide money, gifts, or personal information. Local federal authorities charged 10 people in Oklahoma, New York, California, and Texas with conspiring to launder money obtained through a romance scam targeting women nationwide. 5 of the individuals charged were arrested in Norman, Oklahoma, 1 was arrested in Brooklyn, New York, and 1 was arrested in Long Beach, California. 3 of the suspects escaped. According to a federal indictment released by the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Oklahoma, the suspects, the majority of whom were Nigerian, would initiate online relationships with women and falsely claim to be U.S. citizens working overseas. They target women on dating websites and social media platforms, create dating profiles, use fictitious names, locations, and images. The victims originated from a variety of locations, including Seminole, Florida, Centerville, Ohio, and Pryor, Oklahoma, and they lost nearly $1.1 million in total, including one who sent cash and goods worth $546,000. This type of incident occurs more frequently than you might believe, and while there are several scams online, few are as destructive as these. The Federal Trade Commission reports that Americans lost $143 million to romance scams in 2018, with the average victim losing over $2,600. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation's Internet Cyber Crime Commission reported receiving over 15,000 allegations of romance scams in 2016. In 2020, romance scams reported a record of $304 million in losses to the Federal Trade Commission, which is an increase of around 50% over the previous year. 50% increase. It's not just the money that's at stake in these types of scams. The victims have generally developed an emotional attachment to their scammers, believing them to be real and prospective life mates. That only adds to their anguish when they become heartbroken as the scammers make off with their money or savings. Truly heartbreaking. The first wave of Nigerian 419 scammers were mostly uneducated criminals. The next group comprised young, educated men who were frustrated by the lack of formal jobs in an economy ruined by a series of military dictatorships and years of mismanagement. They noticed the uneducated scammers accumulating wealth and esteem, and they decided to join them. After that followed a batch that simply admired the scammers. A romance scam, also known as an online dating scam, is when a person gets tricked into believing they are in a romantic relationship with someone they met online. In fact, their other half is a cyber criminal using a fake identity to gain enough of their victim's trust to ask or blackmail them for money. Some of the most common online dating scams include these: fake dating sites, photo scams, military romance scams, intimate activity scams, code verification scams, inheritance scams, and malware scams. In the slide, you can read about each of these. The fraudsters register with dating websites using false identities and photos of good-looking people culled from the web. They typically pay subscription fees with stolen or cloned credit card details and act quickly to inveigle their way into long-distance love affairs over the net. Sometimes they will send gifts or flowers. They'll flatter and flirt. They know, after all, that most members of the dating site wouldn't be there unless they were lonely and vulnerable. Sometimes they'll spin a yarn about sending money to their victim's current account and ask him or her to forward some of the money on. And weeks later, the original transfer will bounce, leaving the victim thousands of pounds in debt. Spotting a scammer. When you are hooked, they start asking for money. They usually start off small and see if you'll help them, and then the amounts get bigger. They will ask you for Amazon gift cards, transfers, or even cash. They will use elaborate stories to make you send them money. They will promise to pay you back, but they never do. The scammer gets personal, intimate with you very fast. They use future faking, creating a future you will never have with them. Often they call you their queen or king, or use intimate names very fast to give the illusion of intimacy. They'll check on you to make sure you have eaten, taken your meds, or are okay. They'll become intimate very fast and paint a picture of a future you could share together. Often they will ask you to be their husband or wife after a few months, telling you that they know you are the right person for them. Scammers seem to use a few favored professions. I've shown a few in this particular slide. They're working on an oil rig. They're a doctor of an international organization. And most commonly, they're in the military or deployed overseas. Beware. An alternate money scam to watch for. They may send you money, This could rope you into a money mule scheme whereby the scammer asks to deposit money into your bank account, distribute the funds to other people, or deliver packages. In fact, these requests could be tied to money laundering. If your online love interest asks you for money and you haven't even met them, beware. A romance scammer may ask you to send money for things like travel expenses like a plane ticket or visa, medical expenses like surgeries, gambling debts, family or personal emergency, and they usually have a sob story to back up their request. On this slide, I've shown a little bit about the money laundering cycle and how it works and how the money gets laundered through the system and essentially why it's illegal. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that money laundering is in fact an offence, and that those who commit offences are liable to criminal prosecution. So money laundering is a criminal offence which can lead to jail time. And people used as money mules are guilty of money laundering. In this slide, there's a clickable PDF that you can click on, which will give you a bit more information about how you can stay safe from romance fraud. Please click on the PDF link and it will take you direct to the resource. Debbie Montgomery Johnson. I've included her story in this video. Debbie Montgomery Johnson was a widow looking for new love after the death of her husband. She logged onto a dating site, then fell head over heels for an international man of mystery and was tricked into sending him more than $1 million. She thought the new boyfriend was British, a world traveler, a Christian. It turned out he was never really real, and a team of computer-savvy Nigerians were pulling the strings the whole time. Soon Deb and Eric were exchanging love letters, flirty text messages, and talking on the phone late into the night. Eric even sent Deb pictures of family members, images he pulled from the internet, fake people, some of whom she even had calls with. Deb's red flags. Be wary if the guy says he's in the military. Stolen valor on dating sites and apps is rampant, and law enforcement agencies say people are so inherently respectful of the military, if there's one picture of a guy in a uniform, women are prone to believe him. If the guy isn't calling you by name and he only uses terms of endearment like sweetheart and my love, Deb says that could mean he's running multiple scams at once and can't keep track of the victims. If you haven't met the person in real life after about 2 or 3 weeks, you should start to wonder if something is suspicious. Would later learn that this scam artist had accomplices. Eric began asking for financial favors. Could Deb wire him some money because he was abroad? Did he have a way to exchange currency quickly? Then there were business deals. Eric promised he was about to make a fortune for their future, and Deb should get in on the action. And sometimes Eric had family emergencies. He needed to fly to Europe to be with his boy. So who's being scammed? Australia. Scammers took almost $17 million from West Australians in 2014, about 2/3 of that from romance scams, according to figures released by the state government. A total of 657 West Australians reported losing $16.8 million to scammers last year. Of those, 164 people lost almost $11 million to a romance-based scam. Perth woman Janet lost a 5-figure sum over 5 months to an online dating scam. She said she met a man who said he was a French engineer called Richard McCarthy on an online dating site. A newly released data spotlight showed that in 2021, reported losses to romance scammers were up nearly 80% compared to 2020, and the total reported loss over the past 5 years has now reached $1.3 billion. Romance scammers draw people in using pictures stolen from around the internet, building false personas that seem just real enough to be true, but always having a reason never to meet in person, Eventually, the supposed sweeter will ask for money from the unwitting consumer. The impact can be major, with a median loss of about $2,400 reported to the FTC. And in this slide, you'll see the countries that are really affected by romance scams and the losses. In this video, you can see some WhatsApp messages from scammers. And if you click on this link, you will see a video on the dangers of romance scams. Please click on it to find out more about Australians that have been the subject of romance scams. Continue to watch that video at your leisure. The next slide shows how romance scammers target victims and what you can do to pick up when something is a scam. Most romance scams originate from Nigeria, and romance scammers work in call centers to target victims. Reform scammer Abayami Ajay admits having made more than £50,000 from cheating unsuspecting Western women. The 24-year-old now runs a legitimate internet marketing business in Nigeria but has revealed how scammers operate. According to Ajay, each operator juggles a number of accounts and uses popular dating websites. Often, the cover story involves a fake photograph of an American or British soldier and a stolen credit card. Almost all fraudsters are men. Ajay said, each person has as many as 6 women at a time. We would search through internet dating sites such as Yahoo, Personals, Match.com, and SinglesNet.com and create an account, usually with stolen credit cards. Scammers are prolific, and a number of scams are being run, a number of which I have even seen on Instagram and which I'll address either further down in this video or in another video. Reports show that the Philippines runs the highest amount of dating scams. More than 1,300 romance fraud cases have been reported across the country, responsible for £3.2 million in financial loss. Following next is Nigeria, which accounts for 12.1 million in scams with an average loss per victim of £10,700, with Canada in third, snaffling 5.6 million and breaking the hearts of 1,054 victims. And in this particular slide, you can click on the TikTok video to hear from Earl Nicholson's wife. He's been used in a number of internet scams. They use his name, scammers use his name, various versions of his name, and Earl's wife speaks in this TikTok video explaining more about the scam and the fact that her husband has been scammed.
Hello, for those that don't know, my name is Michaela, and that is my husband Earl. I am here to explain and spread awareness on what has been happening for the last couple of years with my husband's photos. This started back in 2018 when the Shade Room shared one of his photos on their page. And this is a very popular photo I've noticed. One of many popular photos that circulate all over the internet, along with the ones of him and his daughter, of course. Fake accounts with his photos are all over the internet. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the dating apps, all of them. And basically any gaming apps that have chat rooms, they're in there too. A common question that I have heard from women who realized that they were catfished, instead of believing that they were catfished, they would turn around and say, well, why would someone make a fake page of him? What's so special about him? I'm sorry, but for one, he is a good-looking guy. 2, these scammers love to use military members. I mean, think about it. It is so easy to say, I'm deployed. That's why I can't meet up with you anywhere. A lot of the scammers also say they work with the secret services within the military, and that's why they can't video chat, but they sure can message you all day and night. I'm going to list a few things that I've noticed that these scammers love to say and do. They love targeting women 45 years and older. They instantly fall in love after a couple days. No matter where they find you at, they always resort to WhatsApp or another texting app. They use his daughter to lure in a lot of women, and let me tell you, it works. They say he's a single dad and basically everybody around him has died. Their English is very broken. They love to say am instead of I'm. They can never FaceTime because of work. Some of them are extra skilled. They can FaceTime sometimes for a few seconds at a time, and it's a recorded video of him. And the bold ones even present a fake military ID, which I will show next. Y'all can pause to examine this photoshopped military ID. I'm gonna show you guys as much of the fake pages that I can between Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. This is my block list on TikTok, by the way. This one shows more of the different names used on TikTok. Pause to read. I wish I had more time, but here's some more.
so you can see how the scammers operate. In the next slide, victims of scams. That's a scam involving a lottery scam. But the next video is about a romance scam, and you can click on the link to find out more about that. Please click on that link if you would like to hear more about that woman's experience. So in the next video, I've got some links to various different videos. Some of them are from victims that have been jailed because of romance scammers and these people acted as money mules. And as I've explained, you can be jailed for that. And then there is also a video link to some scammers and their story. So please feel free to click on the links and listen to everyone's stories. So I'm going to skip to the next slide. Once you've been scammed by the scammers, you're likely to be scammed again. In the video shared on this page, people linked to the scammers promise to get your money back and then ask you to pay them to do this, and then you get scammed again. You can listen to Wendy's story here, where she explains how this whole process operates. What happens is these women get scammed again. After the initial scam where their money is stolen, then somebody else connected to the scammers gets hold of them and says that they can help to get their money back, and then they get scammed again. So please be wary of this scam. I've attached a little bit more about the suckers list and how that works. So if you've been scammed, effectively go into a list, a suckers list, which gets shared among various different scammers, and yeah, you basically get scammed in various different ways again, because your information gets sold on the dark web. So please be careful. So the question is, can you recover your stolen money? And to answer this question, I have to just go through the various different methods in which money is usually paid to the scammers. So they usually ask people to pay by wiring money with reload cards, like gift cards, and some of the money you can get back and some of it you can't. If you pay cash or if you use gift cards, you will not be able to recover your money. In the UK, I've shared different methods of how people pay scammers and whether or not you can recover your money. I'm not going to read through them. You can read through them yourself, but please know, if you're too embarrassed, know that 1.2 billion was lost to fraud in 2018. So if you've been scammed, you are far from alone. Next slide covers, if you've paid scammers in PayPal and cash, what your various options are for recovering your money. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I hope you found this helpful, and that if you're being scammed at the moment, some of this information will trigger alarm bells for you and will help you. If you are being scammed, please don't feel down and depressed about it. It seems like it's very easy for people who've been scammed to think about ending their life and to feel hopeless. Please confide in your loved ones. Get as much help as you can. Contact the authorities. See what they can do. You might be able to recover some of your money. All is not lost. All is not hopeless. You have people that love you and that are there to support you. And please just remember that you're not alone. People have been scammed all over the world, and you're not the only person that has been scammed, so don't feel hopeless and don't feel embarrassed. And lastly, if you like this video, please can I ask you to subscribe and like the video and comment. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for your support. End of this video, I've shared a couple of other scams that I have actually received in my email, unrelated to romance scams, but please take a read through them just to school yourselves on what other potential emails you might receive from scammers.